We were like, Christian and I were in some, like, I guess you could call it a boy band when we were younger.
Oh.
Yeah.
From the YouTube?
We went on like X Factor. They hit us up on Twitter and they said, we want to fly you guys out to LA and put you in a studio. I want you guys to write. And then we were like, oh, that's a really cool opportunity. And so we came out here, we jumped in the studio every day. They gave us like 2 months and we just worked every single day.
I guess it made sense for us to tour with him in Australia when he was doing his Australian tour, because I guess we're an Australian band and it made sense, the music.
Yeah.
So we got to hang out with him on that tour a little bit, and he was a cool guy.
And he just sat on the floor like cross-legged, and we just played the album. And at the end of it, he just got up and he was like, I don't care if I have to spend $10 on the album or X amount on the album. He's like, but I'm getting this album somehow. Like,
wow.
So yeah, so that's how that went down.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel. Today I'm here with Mitchell of Chase Atlantic.
Hi.
So where in Australia exactly were you born?
I was born in Cairns, Queensland, Australia.
Oh.
It's like the pointy bit.
Yeah.
Like if you imagine Australia, that top right pointy bit, that's where I grew up. It's very hot. Not a lot of people, 200,000 people live there. Growing up, whole life, didn't really expect to be doing the things that we're doing today, but...
Yeah, are your parents originally from Cairns as well?
Yeah, well my dad's from Newcastle in Australia and mum comes from an island over near the Congo and Madagascar called Seychelles.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
so but they met, or like how did that happen?
They met because my mum came to Cairns and dad was driving boats and the whole thing, yeah.
That's so sweet. What careers do they have?
What careers?
Yeah.
So dad used to drive boats and then I guess he kind of worked his way up the ranks. He started a family. He was like a skipper, making ends meet, and then he kind of like, because he worked in that industry for so long, now he's like the general manager. He doesn't have to go out anymore and he kind of just oversees everything.
Yeah.
And mom's always just been like a good mom, but now she's working at first response. It's like they save people's lives and stuff. But
wow, that's a difficult job.
I'm hoping that soon I can be able to make enough money so they don't have to do that anymore.
Where do you say you got your creative side from?
Oh, it's tough. I don't know. I feel like my dad's a little tone deaf. He can't sing at all. Mom's always we've been growing up with music our whole entire lives. Like mom's very musical. Our grandfather's very musical. We've just had a lot of music in our lives. Like every party we ever had was just filled with classical music, vinyls, like French records, like all the old time stuff.
And I read in a previous interview, were you like an opera singer or?
No!
I was like,
I don't know where you read that. I've never been an opera singer.
or like a classically trained singer?
I was like classically trained like in school because I had like a vocal coach and like I used to sing. I guess it's not opera, but like just like very formal like Italian songs, and so I had to like focus on my breathing. Like if my music teacher, my vocal teacher saw me today, she'd be so disappointed. She'd be like, you didn't keep anything that I taught you.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So were you performing a lot or with that?
I was performing like...
It's kind of random though.
It's different though, because like I was performing at places where the old people sit down.
Yeah.
And...
How did you even like think of getting into like classical Italian?
I was just part of the... I guess since primary school I was in choir, and then the vocal teacher was like, I like your voice, I want to teach you a little more, and then I got fully into that whole kind of thing. But now in the grand scheme of things, it seems like such a small part of my life.
Do you feel like you learn a lot from that with your singing now?
I did, but at the same time, it helped me because it made me focus on pitch more. I feel like if anything, I can sing in pitch better because of that. But none of the breathing techniques or like the vowel enunciations I kept, like, it's all very scrappy now.
How do you describe your personality back then growing up?
Oh, I was kind of reclusive, honestly. I was kind of the shy kid in school, but I had a good group of friends around me. Wasn't like a loner or anything like that, but and then towards the end of school, I started smoking weed, and then became even more reclusive.
Did you like school? Like, were you good at it?
I mean, I was okay at it. I got a pretty good score at the end. I graduated high school. Like, I went to university for 2 years to study
where?
sound engineering in Brisbane. And that in general, like the vocal coaching, like to compare the two, it taught me things, but at the same time, it didn't really teach me anything that I'm using now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the production course taught me about how to explain the things that I was doing on my computer, like in a technical way.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, oh, I was like making beats, you can be like, I was using like threshold compression and like baseline EQing and all that kind of stuff. Just like I was just learning terminology basically.
Yeah. Did you realize that you were gonna have a career in music?
I think it was never like it's only now becoming a realization. I always wanted to have a career in music, but you never like you can't have your expectations too high. But at the same time, the drive was there enough, so we were like we're gonna make this happen. Like you have to work really hard at it, so that's what we did.
Yeah. So were you and Clinton always like feeding off each other with music, or how was it?
When I was about 12 years old, he started doing production first. So he was recording like himself on saxophone, and like recording it over like songs that were out at that time, like 2012, like all the classic songs like Lady Gaga and shit like that. But he was like, I'm gonna record you singing, and I wasn't that good of a singer. I was like 12 or something, but we recorded it, and I remember that was the first time we ever like encountered like pitch correction. It's like auto-tune now, but it was like inbuilt pitch correction.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is cool, and then we found out about reverbs, delays, and all these vocal effects you can have.
Were you guys ever a duo?
Yeah, we were. I mean, at one point, like, we were making YouTube covers together, but it was under like Clinton Cave music. But it was always just like a side thing, you know what I mean? We were just doing it for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And then when we met Christian, we were like, we're gonna take this seriously. We got something really good here.
Yeah. And so you bonded with him over Skrillex?
Yeah. We met in Sydney, and we're like probably about 3 sentences in, we started talking about Skrillex and how much we were into like his production and how good, because like Skrillex was so ahead of his time in terms of production, the sounds he was making, and not everyone's into like that whole dubstep thing, but at the time like we were so into it, and he was just so far beyond his years in terms of production value and like sonic kind of psychoacoustics and that kind of thing.
So was it at like a event that you guys met, or like what was the?
We were flown over by a management man or whatever you call him. He found a couple people on YouTube. They flew him to Sydney to kind of like I guess like scout us. And then we met and we were like, this is good what we have here. Like it's a blessing that happened really. We were like Trish and I were in some like I guess you could call a boy band when we were younger.
Oh.
Yeah.
From the YouTube?
We went on like X Factor.
Oh, so this was way before
This
when
is
you guys...
way before. This is when we were like 14, 15.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we went pretty far into like we were in like top 10.
Yeah.
But like
Well,
it all means nothing, by the way. That like shows like that, as soon as you go on a show like that, people think that I have a career now. Not at all.
Yeah.
We had to ditch that whole thing and start from scratch. Like we knew nothing. We just knew how to cover songs.
Yeah.
We didn't know about writing. We didn't know how to produce properly yet. And so we stuck our heads down and we left that group. It was just us three and we're like, this is perfect. All into this.
Actually, what made you want to join like X Factor? Was it like your parents kind of thinking that's how you would kickstart your career?
No,
or?
like my parents are very kind of, very casual. They're kind of like, we don't want you to be disappointed. They're kind of concerned about the show, you know what I mean? They're not the type of parents that are like, look at my kid, like look at what my kid can do. You're gonna be a star, kid. it was more of just like, hey, mom and dad, I want to try to do this thing, and they've always been supportive, but they're like, just if you're gonna do it properly. Like they weren't like pushing any agendas. If anything, they probably would have loved if I graduated university and studied law or something. But.
And so were you balancing like studying like audio engineering?
Yeah, university gave me a reason to figure out how to like really produce and songwrite, because it gave me 2 years of my life where I wasn't obliged to do anything, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I didn't have to go, I didn't need a job because I was going to university, I was studying. In my free time, that's when I learned everything. So like, it was a blessing to go to university because I learned some stuff, but it gave me time to really learn things when I didn't have to go there. Yeah. Because I had no other obligations. Mm-hmm. Which was really cool.
Were you guys already gaining fans while you were at school?
We had a kind of a fan base going from before, but when we restarted, like from scratch, like changed up, just restarted our whole lives, we had to basically start from scratch again. So. And
you ditched like the old management and you try to.
Yeah, we didn't even have management. It was just we just started our whole new project and a whole new way of approaching music, and that's just the way it was kind of going. And so.
And how did you get your music out there initially?
We went to like TuneCore or something. Like, so we produce everything ourselves. We write everything ourselves. Like, everything's done by just us three.
But so how did people find you guys?
So we made our first EP, the Dalliance EP, because it was kind of Clinton's university project. We had to make original songs.
Oh, so you guys started out from a school project?
Yeah, basically.
That's so cool. Now it's like this huge career.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so Clinton was like, Christian, Mitchell, because I was still living in Cairns, Clinton was living in Brisbane, Christian was in Sydney, and so we all flew to Brisbane, and because Clinton had his little home studio set up there, and by that time Christian and I had started like really starting to produce, and so we like helped Clinton with this project, and then it was like, if you're gonna do it for a project, may as well turn it into a career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's something that I always ask trios about. What do you like about Christian's personality?
He has a very big heart. He's one of the biggest hearts I've ever known in a person. He's very accepting and loving.
How about your brother?
He is my brother.
Oh wait, sorry. I mean.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
My brother is my brother. Like, it's kind of, we love each other. But, like we share the same minds. We're like the same person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I guess the trait I like about Clinton and Christian, like all three of us, we have the same ideologies and the same kind of passion and determination and drive.
Mm-hmm. And then how did you meet your management after?
So we came to LA like a long time, well, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and we just had no idea what we were doing. We got flown over by a management company, a different management company, and they were interested in us.
How old were you guys at this point?
17, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Clinton would have been like 20 something, and then they kind of showed us around to a few different labels, and we weren't ready yet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We were kind of still green, and we didn't have a lot to offer. So like we had that whole experience, and we left LA, and like that was kind of strange, but we had to do it. That was like the point where we had to go out and see LA for the first time and see if anything was possible, to see if you could follow a career in music. Mm-hmm. And we went back to Australia, nothing happened, and then Joel and Benji from Good Charlotte heard our music online.
How big were you guys at this point?
I mean, I think we had like 50,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, maybe.
Were they mostly
30,000
Australian or international already?
I think they were like half Australian, half like US, half international, I guess. And then from that point onwards, they hit us up on Twitter, and they said, we want to fly you guys out to LA and put you in a studio. I want you guys to write. And then we were like, oh, that's a really cool opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so we came out here, we jumped in the studio every day. They gave us like 2 months, and we just worked every single day to prove to them that we could like make it worth their while, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. and then they took us around to a few different labels, and then they eventually got us a record deal with Warner Brothers, which is about two years ago.
Yeah. What does love mean to you?
What does love mean to me? Ah, jeez, never been asked that. It's very complicated because I love so many people, but in different kinds of ways. I mean, like, you always love your family. Love to me is being able to live freely and not kind of judge anyone based on what they do, or like impose them or tell them what they can or can't do, especially in a relationship as well.
Yeah.
I feel like love is giving them the freedom and never judging them, and even if they do something wrong, being able to forgive and accept that kind of behavior, you know what I mean? So love is love. Like, you can't fight the feeling. You know, I'm pretty sure that's a song, right? No one can fight the feeling. And you feel love, but love to me in general is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I'm with Christian of Chase Atlantic.
Hello, how you doing?
Really good. So where in Australia initially were you born?
I was born in Sydney, C4.
Oh, okay.
And then I moved to Freshwater, which is a beautiful beach area on the northern beaches.
For your parents' job that you moved, or?
Yeah, no, it's very, very close to it, but they just, they wanted to be closer to the beach. Originally I was in like a little secluded kind of area that I couldn't really get out and about. So moving to the beaches was definitely nicer.
What's your parents' careers?
So they're both retired now. My father was in a band when he was younger.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, Good Dog. But then he went into film and television, and he worked for this channel called Channel 10 over in Australia. And then he actually hired my mum. Yeah, so my mum was doing marketing and advertisement, and that's how they met. And then they got married, and then a few years they had my brother, and then a few years later had me.
So I guess that's where you got, because you were doing like rock really early on already. So it's like from your dad. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, he just, when I was growing up, he just locked me in the car and just played me like Marilyn Manson, Led Zeppelin, King Crimson, which is now one of my favorite bands. Yeah, no, he was a big influence on me music-wise.
And how about, do you feel like you got creative side from your mom too, or? Yeah,
I mean, she's the best. She's the sweetest lady you'll ever meet. I feel like I got my manners and trying to be polite to people from her, for sure. I don't know if I got that side from my dad.
At what age did you start picking up instrument?
I started playing piano when I was like 6, 7. Always had lessons, but I wasn't really a big fan of piano at the start. I always wanted to play drums. So I started playing drums, probably like 8. I was a drummer pretty much my whole life, yeah.
Oh wow, so you were in tons of bands. Yeah.
Not tons, but definitely I had a fair few before Chase Atlantic. I had Laker and I can't remember the other one. Speakeasy.
Oh, that's cool.
Laker was a cool one though. It was just a group of friends from school, and we would just play at parties and stuff, which was fun.
Were you doing original music, or was that mostly covers?
That was mostly covers, but I think we had like 1 or 2 originals.
But it's not, people can't find it, right?
Nah, people couldn't find it. People couldn't find it. It's named Laker was the dog that Russia sent to space.
Yeah.
We just thought that was a really cool concept, like really crazy that Russia just sent a dog into space. Yeah, so we called it Laker.
How do you describe your personality back then growing up?
Honestly, I wasn't the nicest kid in high school. I sometimes regret how I was towards people. I didn't know, and I was arrogant. I didn't know enough about the world and how to treat people. So yes, definitely, I feel like I could have been a better person in high school, but I feel like I'm trying to improve myself and be nicer to people, and the more that I've grown up and matured, I think that's helped. And also Mitchell and Clinton are such loving and caring people. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of myself in high school.
What was the turning point that you were more self-aware?
Probably coming to America or touring.
Oh, like way later then?
Yeah. I just wasn't like all the way up until year 12, I just wasn't the best person. But yeah, I don't know, I guess just growing up, maturing and seeing the world and realizing there's no point in being a bad person or just being mean. There's no point. Because you just be nice and be happy. It's a lot better.
Did you like school though?
Yeah, actually I did
well?
love. Yeah, I did alright. I could have done better. I had my heads in the clouds just thinking about being the band and wanted to write songs. I always wanted to do music, so I was always thinking about that. But I actually had a really good school. I went to Mossman High School. They're very accepting of performing arts and stuff for a high school. There's people like Naomi Watts, Flume, Gang of Youths all came from there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like really cool school, really nice teachers, and it's like the only school in Sydney with no uniform.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I had no uniform. I used to have long hair, and I could keep my hair long.
And then, what age did you guys actually meet?
The boys?
Yeah.
So 2012, so I was 14, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I met him 14, and we bonded over Skrillex.
Yeah, we were
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just really, I don't know why, we were just obsessed with the guy.
That's interesting, because I would think then, did you try to make EDM?
Yeah, 100%. Mitchell's really good at doing EDM. He's kind of started. He started doing remixes of other songs, and that's how he became a really good producer. Clinton and Mitchell, actually, the first day we met, they showed me like a dubstep song they made, and it was trash. If you're watching this, it sucked. No, it was actually. I remember hearing it, and my first thought was just I was impressed that they were able to finish a song, because I couldn't do that back then. I could never finish work. I was never happy with how it would sound. So now that with these two guys, we all help each other to finish beautiful songs.
So actually what clicked you guys to like form a band then compared to like an EDM trio? Or you didn't like EDM that much, you liked the band stuff more?
So Mitchell and I were in like a boy band, and Clinton and Mitchell had been doing stuff for ages. I was always a fan of Clinton's producing, because Clinton was the main producer at the start. He's still the main guy that does all the vocals. Like he's an expert at vocal production, and yeah, we did like covers and stuff for like uni projects, and it just was so natural. Nothing felt forced, and we were 15, 14, 15. And we just had so much fun. We'd steal alcohol and go to the garage and record music. Like. It was just a really beautiful process the way it all happened, and then we just decided like, should we give it a name? And we gave it a name and kind of officially formed in 2014.
Yeah.
When we were a little older, and then we started writing Dalliance, and we were really inspired by the 1975 and like the neighborhood, and that's why we became a band.
At what point of your careers were you guys when you met Good Charlotte?
Very early on, still very young. I think I was 17. They emailed us first, and we were just like that. There's no way that's them. So I think we ignored it. Yeah, I think Clinton was like, I don't reckon it's them, so we didn't reply. And then he just hit us up on the Twitter DMs, and with his little tick, we're like, oh, okay, it might actually be him. And he just, there was no promise of working together. There's nothing like that. He was like, I want to meet you guys. I want to take you out to dinner. So I actually met Joel and Benji by myself the first time in Sydney.
Oh, they had a show there?
Yeah, they were on The Voice. They were the judges on The Voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're big celebrities in Australia. They're like the Justin Biebers of Australia.
Yeah.
They took me to a cafe, and I was like really nervous, and I was like shaking, and I dropped the cap on the ground, and I was too embarrassed to pick it up, so I just was like, oh shit. Yeah, I remember being really nervous to meet them. I was by myself, so I didn't have my friends for confidence to talk, and I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
But they were just so sweet and just kept saying just how they were fans. And they didn't even really want to work together with us, because we were with other people at the time. And then they just flew us out to LA, gave us a place to stay, gave us a recording studio, which we'd never had. Everything we produced was just in a bedroom.
Oh wow.
So they just took us under their wing. And it's kind of funny, this whole time we've been working together, we've never actually signed a deal with them. We've never like made it official until about last week. On their birthday, we officially.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait, so how many years later is that?
Probably about four years.
Wow.
Yeah, we were working together for 4 years, just on good faith, I guess. We were giving them a percentage, obviously, but nothing was official. But it was just the love and connection and what they've done for us, and what we hope to do for them and their company, and watching them build their company, because we were one of the second bands.
Yeah.
It didn't need the contract. It didn't need it, but it's nice that it has it now.
Actually, back then, did you have any mentors? Like, how did you figure out the whole music industry, or who to trust, basically?
Well, you never know who to trust.
Yeah.
There's no algorithm to figuring out who to trust. I had a mentor, a jazz musician, Sir Rory J. Thomas. He taught me a lot about music industry and fusion of genres. He was telling me how he could see the future of music was genreless based music that just incorporates all sorts of different things. He passed away, but I think he'd be really proud of how we've incorporated different music. And then mentors when it comes to business, Joel and Benji. They're really smart.
Yeah.
Everybody loves them because they're so nice and honest and caring. So I think just from what they've taught us, I've just got to be polite to the crew, treat everyone with respect like they do. And and that's why they've got such a good name, for just being great guys. And that's why people want to work for them and work with them.
Yeah. And then how did you meet Warner?
How did we meet Warner?
Yeah.
I've never met Mr. Warner. We dropped by one day. We had no idea. We had all these other labels that were interested.
Was this after, like, way after the split? Or like how?
This was after Nostalgia. We just started working on the album. We had no intentions of. We didn't even know they wanted to meet up with us, and we kind of had these other labels in our heads. But I think Benji was like, let's just stop by and have a meeting, and we played. I think it was Dan. So I guess Dan was Mr. Warner, and we played it to him, and he was this really cool guy, like kind of like a hippie almost. Like he had like incense going, and he had these really beautiful, crazy speakers, and he just sat on the floor like cross-legged, and we just played the album. And at the end of it, he just got up and he was like, I don't care if I have to spend $10 on the album or X amount on the album. He's like, but I'm getting this album somehow. Like,
wow.
So that's how that went down. And then unfortunately, a lot of CEO changes and stuff happened, and we're no longer with Warner. But the relationship didn't end badly. It's like if a girlfriend and a boyfriend, but it's like a mutual decision, and everyone's on good terms, which I think is such a healthy way for it to end, especially with our first label. You hear so many stories about people hating their labels, but we're not really like that.
Yeah. Is it difficult from going from being with a whole label and then being like just you guys again?
Yeah. It sucks. So it definitely it's great to be that independent again, and that's awesome. But when you start realizing that there's no label behind you anymore, and it's harder to get visas, it's harder to come back, it's harder to get accommodation. It's a lot tougher, but we persevered, and Mitchell and Clinton and I just ended up paying for everything ourselves, and that's how it's been. That's even on this album, it's just us flying ourselves out, paying for our own place. So it's definitely tough because it's all just on Mitchell, Clinton and I now. But I guess that's what being independent is,
Yeah.
And it's definitely helped us grow and focus on the music a little bit more, and we've learned a lot about business that we didn't know before. So I guess it made us a little wiser.
Yeah. So where do you think you got most of your momentum from?
Probably Friends was the big start.
Yeah.
I think we were just in like a bunch of like edits on Tumblr or something. I think it became like a big song on Tumblr.
Yeah.
So that was a break, I guess. Like that was the first song that we ever hit 1 million on. And I
guess that wasn't planned then, right? If it was on Tumblr.
Yeah. It was just and it just did really well, and we were kind of shocked. I remember it hit 1 million and we like freaked out. That was huge. That's 1 million. Like 1 million is such a big number, but when songs start to hit that more often, it loses its feeling kind of. You just want to, and that's I guess the curse of being an artist or a musician is constantly want more, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Friends definitely blew us up. And then I think we just.
You were also touring heaps, right?
When Friends came out,
Yeah.
we weren't. But last year, yeah, we toured. We did 150 odd shows in a year.
It's crazy.
We were the 5th most touring band or something of the year.
Yeah, that's like a third of the whole year you guys are just...
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's insane. But I mean, people work more than that. Like, people spend more times than that in a year working in an office. So I guess you can't complain. And it's fun. It's a fun job.
Yeah.
It gets tiring and like mentally draining, but we get to travel the world and play shows to people who appreciate us as much as we appreciate them.
And this is something I always ask trios, but what do you like about Mitchell and Clinton's personalities?
Absolutely nothing. Mitchell is very sweet, very loving, very open. Yeah, Mitchell's beautiful, a beautiful person, just like his parents as well. And Clinton again is just a very loving, very smart. They're both very, very smart. Clinton's very loving, very open, very friendly, and just like a very huggable man. Like he's just like a big old teddy bear. But yeah, I just love him. I love them both a lot.
How was your friendship and like kind of I guess in business growing with them over time?
Business, we never fight or anything. It's just, and a lot of people and bands that I see go wrong is when they become a band before becoming friends. You know, like they go out and they set a goal, like let's be a famous band, and then they just or some guys like I want to be a famous band, hires people that he doesn't know, and then when people start talking money and business stuff happens, it just breaks them up because it's so different to be working in business together, because a band is a business, it's not just guys playing music. So we had already grown up together and we were friends. We knew what we didn't like about each other, we knew what we loved about each other. So business wise, it just hasn't really affected anything. We've always been the same. On the road, now that we're more experienced as well, with more experience, we understand each other's boundaries when we need each other's space. And if we ever do get into little fights, it's always you apologize before you go to bed. You always make up before you go to bed. That's our
I love that. Last question. What would you say have been the biggest challenges for Chase Atlantic so far?
The biggest challenges?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people and a lot of companies and stuff, and I think they're afraid of Chase Atlantic. I think that they're scared of some of the things we say and the things we do aren't normal for a band like us, and being from Australia.
Like what?
I don't know, just the metaphoric drug references, the swearing. I think people get a little bit scared and frightened, and they're not really willing. And also the music is just really different, I guess. And when people don't know what they're listening to, or they don't know what it is, and they can't put it in a box, or they can't compare it to something else, it scares them. So I feel like that's we've been overlooked a lot by a lot of people. But we persevere and we always get through. But that and visa stuff.
Oh yeah.
Coming to America and trying to get that's I'm not swearing. That stuff
I guess
done.
it's on brand.
That stuff is really tough. The visas is not easy. It's not just, you can't just pack up and say, oh, I'm going to America. Here I come. I'm going to go work there. You get arrested.
Yeah.
So that's tough. And then I guess just money's always a tough thing, but we don't really care too much about that.
How about your personal challenges?
Personal challenges? Like just me?
Yeah.
I think being away from my family. Like it's my brother's birthday today. It's his 30th today.
Wow.
So it sucks that I'm not there. It was my grandma's 90th like a week ago. It definitely sucks not being there with my family. I also really, really love freshwater, like where I'm from.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place, and also like as soon as I finished high school and I just started to make like a really good group of friends who I really appreciate, I kind of left to go do this, and that sucks. They're always, it's really good to whenever I go see them, but I wish I got to spend a bit more time with friends and family for sure. Yeah, so I think that's a personal challenge.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with the Clinton. He's not much of a talker.
Hi, and now I'm with Clinton.
Hi, how you going?
Really good. So actually, at what age did you pick up the saxophone?
So I was in 5th grade in primary school. I think I wanted to do music, so it was one of those things where you kind of go in for like an interview or something as a kid, and for some reason the music teacher can just be like, hey, you're playing this instrument now. I think he just pretty much wanted to assign instruments to make a band out of small children. Sounds really sus, but anyway, I guess I was given the saxophone, and it just worked for me. Like I felt like I could be expressive on it, and
that's so rare that the first instrument you picked up, it was like you're like, yeah, this is me.
Yeah, it is rare. I feel like it could have been another instrument and it still would have probably worked out, but saxophone's cool. It had like opportunity for like jazz, you know, classical music, and I don't know, it just worked out. Maybe it was meant to be.
And were you playing orchestra or?
Yeah, I was that kid. I was in a concert band to start with. Yeah. And then moved into orchestra, where saxophone actually isn't really built for orchestra, but they managed to find me parts. And then I actually ended up playing bassoon for a bit in the orchestra, and the oboe, which is really weird. They're really weird instruments. I don't recommend. I don't recommend playing the bassoon.
Why?
It's stupidly big. It sounds pretty stupid. It's hard to play. But yeah, I just did all that stuff, and I was classically trained in saxophone, so I think I'd reached like the highest level of like classical sax. You know, like all the scales and all the notes.
So how many years total until you reached that level?
I think it was like 5 years or 6 years, something like that.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, thank you. I guess, yeah, just leveling up each year as I went through high school. Then realizing it's not anything, I shouldn't have done that. I should have been improvising more and making music that I wanted to hear and play music that I wanted to play, but that's part of growing up. It got my skills up, and I can't complain. I guess now I'm just trying my best to still be able to play that thing. I have no idea what I'm doing every day. So.
Yeah. Did you have any favorite composers back then?
Wow. I think so. I really blocked this like part of my brain out of my life.
Really? Why?
So my life, I've blocked this part of my life out of my brain, is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
I don't know, not on purpose, it wasn't like overly flattering or inspiring, so yeah, I guess, I mean growing up, like there was a few composers, like we played like the 1912 Overture, stuff like that was cool to play in an orchestra. There'd be like a big cannon drum that like hit real loud, and I was like, oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember names though. I've really tried to focus on, you know, music production after that, and I guess I just grew away from that whole thing.
So then you were producing on your computer, right?
Yeah.
At what age was that?
I think the age of 15, maybe I started like, or 14 and 15, I picked up Logic, and you know, I had some friends that sang. Decided to try and record vocals one day, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Put it on YouTube, made a fool of ourselves. But we got a little bit of a following back then, and it was cool. But yeah, I guess at a young age, the whole production thing was just really intriguing to me and to us that we did that. Yeah.
How would you describe your personality back then, growing up?
I was a loser. Still am. No, I'm pretty shy. People think maybe I was like, in a way, intimidating, but I'm just shy, I think. Quiet to myself, I overthink things. My personality back then was definitely not as developed as now, I guess, as an adult. Even now it's still not great, but you know, working on it every day. I was a little nerd. I was actually a swimmer as well though, so I was like a nerd athlete.
Yeah, well that's crazy, because then you're doing like so much training and then always just like practicing your instrument.
Yeah.
Like, that's your whole time is like gone now.
You wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, or you go training for like 2.5 hours, go to school, try not to fall asleep, play like your lunch times in the orchestra or the concert band, and then back to swimming training at like 3:30 in the afternoon.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you must have been really good then, competing a lot. Yeah. You have the height and everything.
I got to like national level, I guess.
No way.
And Australia's a very fast swimming country.
I know, it's so competitive.
So like when we did like our state title championships, we would have like, you know, like England, Japan, China, USA that all come just to compete like locally, and I was like, what? This is pretty much the Olympics at this rate. Like this
Did you ever think of taking it seriously? You could have joined the Olympics, right?
Yeah, I mean I was getting there like eventually if I kept working. I was a bit of a late bloomer as well, so I had to like try a little bit harder because my body wasn't as like developed as some of the other big boys who are very quick at, most of the swimmers like they're very quick at developing, like they went through puberty very fast.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, I always had to like catch up to them and try harder, you know how it is. I like just, swimming is constant, up and down, like,
yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I could have continued it, but I realized it's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
This is much more rewarding as a musician than being an artist, I think, creatively.
And did you also go to uni? College?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you study?
Did Mitchell tell you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you studied.
He did the same thing as I did.
Oh,
we did so Bachelor of Music Technology.
Yeah.
At the Griffith Conservatorium of Music in Brisbane.
Do you think that helped you a lot with your looking back?
The actual course itself, I probably didn't pay attention enough or learn a whole lot from, but I think it gave us the time to focus on what we wanted to do. And even like if you study something, you're focusing your time on that, so you learn either regardless, like through the internet by yourself or...
Yeah.
It was just good to have that time to practice the craft, and I actually nearly finished the course. I think I'm like one class away from graduating.
That's so close.
With a degree, but yeah, I don't know, I can't do it. So if they're watching this, I'll do like a little thing where I could like sign up those last 5 credit points, and you can like say, yo, Griffith graduate records in studio in Los Angeles. That'll be sick. Yeah.
So yeah, I know you guys have had like really difficult visa issues, so how did you work through that?
Donald Trump. What's that? How we work around it?
Or like, how did you even get through it?
I guess being with a label is a good sponsor, and having like great management, they help like with your case. You have to apply for like a case to prove that you're a real person, not like a terrorist or something like that. It's like terrible. But no, we've been luckily like fortunate enough to have good company and work with good companies that have been able to look after us.
And it clicked to you that you kind of hit the ceiling in Australia during that time, or?
Like in the music industry?
Yeah. Like, were you playing the biggest venues, or?
No, we didn't go crazy big in Australia before we left. We kept it pretty casual. I don't think we could do anything at the time. We weren't like a massive band. But yeah, Australia is very limited in terms of market and the industry, and you know, we love Australia. It's not that we betrayed Australia or anything like that. We want to go back to Australia, you know, and play some really big shows, some cool shows for everyone. We just knew that we had to like get our foot off the ground and make the move here business-wise, and I guess look, we'll always return to Australia, and that'll be our home. So yeah, I mean, getting over here has always been a bit difficult financially and with visas, but we've always just worked around it. It's meant to be.
And then so you formally moved here, right?
Yes, so. I think we have
How long ago?
I think we have enough of a case now to apply for like a long-term visa. So you could almost call us residents now.
Yeah.
But,
how long ago was that?
I think our first trip here was like nearly 4 years ago. Three and a half years ago. Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm getting pretty old.
Yeah.
Got a lot of grey hair. Probably should have dyed that before I went on camera.
So how did you meet Blackbear?
Blackbear?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm trying to remember. I know that we met Mike Posner because he came into the studio one day and we recorded a song with him. We wrote a song with him. It never got released because we weren't like finished with it or happy with it, but I knew that he knew about us at that point because of that. Maybe he knew about us before because of online music. I have no idea. But I guess it made sense for us to tour with him in Australia when he was doing his Australian tour because I guess we're an Australian band and it made sense, the music.
Yeah.
So we got to hang out with him on that tour a little bit, and he was a cool guy. And then his tour manager we met in Australia as well. His name's Riley. We were actually at his birthday party last night.
Oh, nice.
I'm sure anyone who's watching would know Riley's an artist now as well. A very experienced guy with great lyric content, great pop music. And we've become good friends with him. He tour managed us for a few tours, you know. And then I guess through that, it's all just a very close circle of people and friends. Yeah, we're not like on a day-to-day basis with Blackbear or anything like that. He does his own thing, but I think he's a cool guy.
How did Warped Tour happen?
Oh, jeez. got roped into that one. No. I guess Joel and Benji have always had such a big pull as Good Charlotte with Warped Tour.
Yeah.
And they knew as a band if we did Warped Tour we could pretty much get through anything. So they said, look, just do it, boys. And we did it. And it was tough. It was hot. Nearly died like multiple times.
Oh my
but
gosh.
we got through it, and that's the main thing. But yeah, he just came up because Joel and Benji were like, look, boys, you have to do this tour. We're like, okay, we're doing it. There was no way out of it. Like, we literally were like, The good news is though, we met a lot of cool people. We met, well, Dom, Youngblood. He lived in our bus with us for half of the Warped Tour. That was a lot of energy. He's a crazy guy. I love him. He's a really cool guy, but he's crazy.
How has your relationship with Good Charlotte grown over time?
The whole band, they're lovely dudes. We don't get to hang out with the whole band because a few of the members do live in different cities. But we're really, really good friends. And obviously Joel and Benji we see all the time, working directly with them, so our relationship now is like family. It's like, yeah, we're part of their personal life and they're part of our lives in a big way. So like brothers now, the older brothers.
Yeah. What is it like now being part of their label? Because before you were like independent or like with Warner and everything. Has it changed?
We're just learning now that no matter what we do business-wise, yes, it might be financially different or you might be able to promote certain things better, which we still haven't had a big opportunity to do yet because we've always had like a small budget. But we're learning that we're doing it all ourselves no matter what. It's still our music, we're producing it. No one's telling us what music to make, which is really good. Joel and Benji make a good point of like keeping us very creatively open. Yeah, it's good to work with these companies because they definitely do help, like supporting, like to get here, for instance.
Yeah.
Like people probably think because we've had a few streams now that things are going really well, and they are. But financially, it's still a struggle to tour that much and you know live.
Yeah.
We're at a point now where the tours are actually starting to make sense, and we might turn around some small profit. But I guess that the companies do help a lot in that aspect, in like advancing cost to live, you know. And then we get to do our own thing regardless. So it's still us. We haven't changed musically or as people.
Yeah.
We just get to do our thing, which is awesome.
What's the inspiration behind Don't Try This?
Don't do it. I don't know. Literally, we were on tour so much that we tried to get a bunch of songs together, and we realized because when you're in tour mode, you're hyped up. Your central nervous system is hyped up. Everything's like through the roof. Your senses are overloading. Your anxiety's higher, but more manageable because the shows give you confidence, I guess, in a way. So for us, we put a bunch of songs together, and those ones stood out the most to us as being, I guess, cool and energetic at the time. The lyrics are quite crass, which is actually Christian's nickname, but they're very like out there, you know. I mean, Mitchell wrote pretty much all these lyrics in this EP, and he was in a crazy place as well, touring so much. Made him go a little bit crazy. But it's one of those bodies of work that is cool to look back at and go like, wow, I can't believe they went so rogue at this point in their lives. They really like went rogue on that one. So the inspiration is just crazy lifestyle, I think, touring so much and like constant adrenaline, like lows and highs, and there's not a lot of time to be sad and like mope about it when you're on tour. Whereas when we're in album mode, which I don't know if I'm supposed to say or not, but
yeah, I was gonna ask you
they already
about
know.
that.
Fuck, everyone knows.
Yeah.
when you're in album mode, you have time to, you know, lay down your emotions, come up with more substantial, meaningful songs.
And what's your inspiration for that?
For the album?
Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, look, these are really Mitchell questions, but I could still answer. I guess lifestyle still is important, but dealing with emotions and depression, anxiety, you know, just stuff people can like relate to. Want to make good music that people can escape to, and that's what everyone says, I guess. But
So you don't write much? You're mostly like doing the audio produce?
So yeah, I'll sit down, like Mitchell's been doing this album, and Christian and I will sit down and guide him through his lyric process, and if something's weird, we'll tell him, or we'll, like, you know, we'll give like ideas or influences. But for me, I'm a very technical, hands-on person, so I'm sitting there thinking, wow, his voice sounds weird. This mic's like not working properly, or like the tone's off, or you need to like sing with more. Yeah, I'm like the sound guy, I guess, in that way.
How do you say your music has changed compared to the early songs you made?
I think it's hard to. I feel like there's definitely obviously a better, like as musicians we've developed and we're getting better every day. But when you do it for this long, I guess it's not even that long for us. It's been like 5-6 years, but. When you start out, you're very inspired because you know you want to like do anything. You're like, this is a crazy world. I can't believe this. And now it's like we know what we're doing. We still need to find that inspiration. I think it's a bit harder to do it because I don't know. It's like you ever like look at someone like an actor, or you think they're so cool, and then you meet them. You're like, oh, they're just a person. It's like I don't know. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here. But
I love it though.
yeah, I'm really in my own head right now. We've been locked in the studio for like 3 weeks. Forgotten how to like speak to anyone. The inspiration though is always just everywhere, I guess. That's vague as hell. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you answered my question.
I hope I did.
Yeah. Last question. What do you want Chase Atlantic to be remembered for?
I could say so many stupid things.
I could tell from your first reaction, you're like...
I want to be remembered for making great quality music. And I think that's it. I think regardless if we're setting like a social standard or telling people to rebel, which we're not that political as a band. We like to just make great music. That's the thing. If it's good music, people will listen to it. It's like The Weeknd. I don't think he has an agenda to like be political or anything like that. It's just good music, and like you see the masses draw to it. Like you can't deny good music, and I think that's all we want to be able to do. Is make good quality stuff that will always back us up, you know?
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm so weird in front of a camera.
Oh no. Bye guys.
Thank you.